Good evening and welcome to the big story here on Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos. I'm Chika Ago. And Procter and Gamble, a fast-moving consumer goods company, says it will dissolve its footprint on the ground in Nigeria and revert to an import-only model. If you're not familiar with the name Procter and Gamble, perhaps you may know some of their products. They include Always sanitary pad, Pampers, Ariel detergent, Oral-B toothpaste, Gillette shaving stick, and more. According to the company's chief financial officer, Andre Schulten, it is becoming increasingly difficult to operate and create US dollar value because of the country's macroeconomic environment. Their exit comes after companies like Unilever, GSK, and Sanofi also announced it was ceasing local manufacturing operations in Nigeria. And so what does the exit of these companies mean for Nigeria's economy, our local manufacturing sector, and investor confidence in the country as a whole? For more on this, we turn to Dumebi Oluwole. She is an economics analyst with Steers Insights. Ms. Oluwole, I hope you can hear me. Good evening.
Good evening. I can hear you very well.
Good evening. I'm happy to have you join us this evening. I want to start by getting your thoughts on, the exit of P&G from, the Nigerian manufacturing scene and reverting to an import-only model. And when you saw the news, what came to mind?
I would say it was just like for every Nigerian, it was shocking. Not because we've not expected some exits, from Nigeria, simply because it's a tough business environment, especially for import-dependent companies, and that deal with the exchange rate on a regular basis and have to plan relatively on a very painful level around the volatility of the exchange rate. So we've actually seen this happen, and we did expect some of these trends to continue, but we just didn't expect it to happen this soon and this quickly. Because like you initially mentioned, we've seen a huge pharmaceutical company exit Nigeria. Before now, it was ShopRite, and a few things that have led us to this are, number one, the exchange rate volatility, and number two, the market size illusion that exists, right? So there's always the illusion that a huge population equals a large market size, and companies have learned the hard way in Nigeria that that's really not the case, and that's why the CFO did mention that Nigeria is practically like a $50 million, market compared to their $5 billion business, So stopping on the ground operations here won't really affect their profitability, So yes, we did expect it, but again, just like everyone else, we're surprised, and it will definitely have a huge impact on the prices going forward.
So you also did say that, and this is, I reckon, in reference to the statements made by the company's chief financial officer, who says that it's becoming increasingly difficult to create US dollar value, right, in our market because of our macroeconomic environments. And, that seems very confusing on the surface because, aside the obvious fact that, we spend Naira, also there's the reality that the Naira and the dollar have not exactly been at par for decades now. So how exactly, what exactly do they mean when they say it's becoming difficult to create US dollar value in our local markets?
Okay, let's start with importation of raw materials, right? Quite a number of the FMCG companies here in Nigeria are import dependent in terms of their raw materials. So meaning that they earn in Naira based off of the sales that they make, but then they spend in hard currency, they spend in US dollars to produce the commodities that they produce here. So already they are spending a lot more because of the exchange rate volatility. So that means that they need more naira to buy the raw materials that they need before they're now factoring other domestic issues when it comes to production, right? And the reason why this exists is because the access to local markets when it comes to the access to raw materials really within the local market is increasingly difficult. The ability for farmers and even other domestic producers of raw materials to actively produce these commodities has been significantly impacted by different factors of varying degrees. If you're looking at insecurity, you look at insecurity, you look at the fact that the cost of producing all these raw materials are also expensive. There are cost storage facilities. So essentially agricultural productivity is low. And incentive for farmers to keep going on is also very low, and that has affected supply of these raw materials to manufacturers, forcing them to now import. The other thing is the quantity of raw materials also produced is very low. Smallholder farmers contribute as much as 80% to Nigeria's production capacity for agricultural commodities, and this now feeds into how low the productivity is or how low supply is, and then also affecting manufacturers who are the end of the value chain or supply chain for agriculture, right? So we also need to consider the fact that even when they do produce, the high cost of operations in Nigeria is very high. With insecurity, low government support, all of these definitely feed into the access to raw materials for these companies. Then you now look into the cost of operating for the businesses themselves. Accessing forex in itself is a very huge problem. Not even having the forex now, but accessing it in itself is a very huge problem. A lot of businesses, especially manufacturers, have a blended rate where they get about 80% of their FX from the parallel market and the other 20% from the official market. And this alone makes their import costs relatively expensive. And then it feeds into operating costs and and then it feeds into their operating costs and generally their business activities. Then you also consider the fact that petrol subsidy has also been removed, right? So they're also spending so much on their operational expenses, so distribution costs, logistics costs, running costs as well. So this is one of the reasons why it's becoming increasingly difficult to do business in Nigeria. And more importantly, is the uncertainty that exists in the Nigerian market. So Nigerian market is pretty much unpredictable, right? So the lack of stability has affected business because they're not able to plan for the future, and then this affects their projection. So a business could plan with an estimate of like 500 today, and then they're spending as much as 1,200 to get forward for their business. So those are the issues that have increasingly made the business environment very difficult.
Right, and that then leads me to the next part of this conversation, because with the exits of yet another major company, right, there leaves a massive vacuum that I assume local players ideally should fill. What is that space looking like right now for local players who are looking to expand? Is the exit of P&G, a win for them in any way?
I mean, with economic theory, you would say yes, simply because now there is the expectation would be that local players now have access to Nigeria's market, and that they should be able to ramp up local production. But really, the fundamentals of why businesses are existing is not because they cannot they cannot satisfy Nigeria's market. It's because the market fundamentals just don't work, right? The market fundamentals just don't work. And it doesn't just only apply to multinationals. It also does apply to local companies, right? Because some local companies, even though they source their raw materials domestically, they still deal with forex in one way or the other, right? And it could come in form of getting some of their huge um, 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 some of their huge input materials, right? Maybe like sugar or flour, right? So those commodities still have the exchange rate impacted in them some way, and local manufacturers will still have to deal with that issue. Then the other thing is Nigerians are not just able to spend as much as they would have some 2, 3 years or even 5 years ago. Disposable income is down, which means that demand is also down, and this will also affect businesses, right? So even though to an extent it does somewhat shed a light on that conversation, maybe this is time for local companies to, maybe take center stage. So the truth is it will still be difficult for them to do so. And really, how many local companies can satisfy local demand and at the same time also export when policies are not yet set in place to make that happen? Although we're seeing conversations around that, taking center stage from the fiscal side of things and also monetary side of things to aid this. So really, it would still be quite difficult. So that market is still something that we would increasingly just keep an eye out for, see how things evolve. But it will definitely still be a difficult thing even for local companies.
Right, but then again, there is the problem of us having to boost our own manufacturing base, right? You have to,
Yeah.
we actually have to. It's something that as a country we cannot afford to not have locally manufactured goods, right? And so if local manufactured goods are going to have to deal with the same problems, if locally manufactured goods are going to have to deal with the same problem that these major multinationals are running away from, right? I assume that it means that whatever is left, in the markets, whatever is left in the markets will become, really pricey, and that would
Mm-hmm.
ultimately affect the end price for the consumer, right? So,
Of course. Of
right.
course.
And then with these companies reverting to an import model for
Mm-hmm.
Nigeria, it means that if we are going to continue to see our local, this, if we're going to continue to see these goods locally, Pampers, if we're going to continue to see always pad for women, if we're going to continue to see shaving stick for men, they will be imported. They would come, with their import price, and they could be slightly higher, because they are imported, or slightly higher than the local option because again they are imported. What does this all mean for the consumer who has to deal with all of this price surge?
Yeah. You're quite right in your analysis. I would say that prices will still definitely increase. Imported inflation would, keep rising. Yeah, imported inflation is actually around 20% now, so it would still keep rising, right? Simply because this import-only model just simply means that importation of these commodities will continue into the Nigerian economy, and the more the dollar, is the more the naira is depreciating against the dollar, or the less stable the naira is, the more expensive these products are. Local commodities or local producers, they might not just be able to meet up with the local demand or to generally plug that space that has been, or plug that gap that's been created by these companies leaving. A very good example is GlaxoSmithKline leaving. We've seen the price of certain medication, certain drugs, spike by over 1,000%, right? So even if a local company is coming to plug that gap, it will take some time. So for the consumer generally, what this simply means is, number one, people will definitely have to find ways to adapt to higher prices. And what we would likely see is the income and substitution effect have a very potent, it will be very much more potent in the Nigerian consumer market. So meaning people will definitely switch to cheaper goods. Um, people will switch to cheaper goods. There will also be reduced consumption. People will continue to prioritize food, over every other thing. Because now consumption will be based on survival. the other thing to also look out for is the difference in consumption patterns among the consumer class, right? So this everything I've said now will be something that would cut across for all consumer brackets, but primarily the low and lower middle income consumers will be the hardest hit by this high increase in prices simply because of the way they earn. So these people are mostly daily wage earners, with like traders, construction workers, and so the real value of their income will significantly decline. And so we also see like more people, becoming poor. The World Bank has already said there'll be an additional about 2 million people falling into extreme poverty in Nigeria. We just expect this trend to continue.
Right. And then there is the overall implication of this exits, right? On the economy and investors' confidence in us. Is there in any way, shape, or form a silver lining? Right? I mean, if companies that have operated in Nigeria for the last 35 years, are up and leaving the country, right? Is there any way in which I mean, obviously, it would look bad for investors, but do you see any silver lining, no matter how small?
I mean, the main silver lining to point out is that we are seeing the government become a bit more pro-business, pro-growth, pro-investment, right? Because the simple truth is the money that Nigeria clearly needs to destabilize the economy will definitely come outside of our borders, right? And we need this multinational coming. We need to ramp up domestic production, and local companies might not just be able to hit it off the ground, immediately. So bigger companies coming in, taking advantage of the pro-growth environment or the pro-business environment is what will really help. And what this simply means is the government definitely has to make better policies. The policy environment has to be very stable. It has to be, the government definitely also has to be more prudent in its spending. And when I mean prudent in spending, I mean spending on meaningful aspects of the economy, right? So we expect these things to continue or to actually positively anchor investor sentiment, and then now break in, bringing a lot more investments that we're looking at. Because truly, when multinationals like this exist, it does put the Nigerian economy in a bad light. But what this also does is it just also brings out an opportunity for the government to step up, do a lot more in terms of fiscal and monetary policy consolidation, so that we're looking good, right? We start looking good, and we're seeing other companies coming to especially boost, growth in other sectors that they expect to, push the economy. So sectors like telecommunications, financial services, energy, agriculture, and manufacturing, obviously. So, because those are the things that we expect to push an economy, an emerging market like Nigeria, off the ground. We've seen success stories with other Asian economies, and it can't work for Nigeria. The government just needs to do its job, to bring these investments in so that we have enough dollars to stabilize the naira, and then even local companies that are looking to see this as a good opportunity, if they're able to, if the action is to stabilize, if inflation is going down, it will help them as well, because it will unlock consumer spending, unlock productivity, and in turn, push output growth further.
Right. Well, I mean, it doesn't look like it doesn't look like or it doesn't seem like very difficult steps to take on the surface, right? But then the practicality or just the practical application of it is where the headache is. But can somebody look at all of what's happening here and say, well, Nigeria's manufacturing sector is almost dead? Maybe I don't want to say dead, but almost dead. If a person were to assess the health of Nigeria's manufacturing sector, given all of this reality now, what would be the right health level to assign to it?
I would say the best gauge to check the health is the growth, right? And we have seen growth significantly decline, and the contribution of manufacturing or even industries in total to Nigeria's GDP decline over the years. And it is not news why that is happening. the beginning of the manufacturing sector is the agricultural sector. If agricultural sector is declining in productivity, it will definitely trickle down into the manufacturing sector, because manufacturing sector starts from where agriculture ends, right? So if the agricultural sector continues to decline, we'll definitely see that trickle into manufacturing. And we've seen manufacturers actually being very innovative. They've tried linkaging. They've tried to, take advantage of a lot of other things, a lot of government policies that have somewhat, it has been very, very choppy for them. The business environment has not exactly been very friendly. And this is coming up on the back of, 8 years of very safe government policies, both on the fiscal and monetary policy side of things, that significantly, hampered business growth and stuff. So the manufacturing sector to actually keep growing, and for us to check the health, we would have to see a very, we'll have to see bumper growth in the agricultural sector, and then the government has to do a lot more to attract, manufacturers and attract industries to come into Nigeria to set up shop, because that's one way to revive the sector. We've seen this model play out, especially when it comes to special economic zones. Nigeria does have these special economic zones, but the problem is that we're not really doing so much with it, right? Some of the incentives that are supposed to be given to these investors, we're seeing them being retrieved. So we have to make sure that the policies and structures that we put in place for manufacturers to thrive, they have to work, and they have to work effectively.
Well, hopefully we're able to see all of this work effectively in the near future. And I mean, I'd love to see the economy bounce back, and I'm sure you'd love to see the same too. Thank you very much for your time and your insights this evening. We appreciate it.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
That was Dumebi Uluwale. She is an economics analyst at Steers Insights, joining us to discuss this sad news today, right? The exit of yet another multinational from Nigeria. And by the way, if you're not familiar with Steers Insights, they provide data, insights, and analytics for global organizations, right? It provides data and market intelligence for corporate organizations around the world, especially those looking to invest in Nigeria and Africa. So I mean, this is sad. The exit of Procter & Gamble from the country. They are going to cease local operations and revert to revert to an import-only model in the country. So that means that all of the, the products that you know and love from them, I'm talking about Always sanitary pad, Pampers, Ariel detergent, Oral-B toothpaste, Gillette shaving stick, you name it. They will now be imported instead of, being manufactured at their local lines in Nigeria. If you remember, sometime in October, Guinness Nigeria PLC also revealed plans to cease importation and sale of international premium spirits, including Johnny Walker, Baileys, Singleton, and others. They said we're going to cease importation and sale of those spirits in Nigeria. GSK UK, a major player in the pharmaceutical industry, also exited the market after over 51 years operating here due to challenges like foreign exchange complexities. They had security concerns, but it also had high operational costs. We saw Unilever also announced its exit from the home care and skin cleansing markets in Nigeria to find a more sustainable and profitable business model, right? And these are very major parts of their production line in the country. But I mean, we also saw we saw companies like Sanofi, right, the pharmaceutical company, also announced that it was ceasing local operations in Nigeria. So clearly, there is a problem here that we actually need to fix. The problem is, how do we begin to fix it? What are the implications of the exit on the local markets, right? And just how do you feel about where we're headed? I remember growing up, and seeing factories and seeing companies abandoned in my neighborhood, right? I remember growing up and seeing Dunlop one day. I mean, we had Dunlop, and then the next day they were no longer there, right? They up and left the country. And there's so many other brands like that. We saw ShopRite say, well, I mean, it was not just the West, it was not just a Nigeria thing. ShopRite had sort of divested in, major markets in Africa, so it's not just Nigeria. But we've been seeing this happen lately, and I wonder where you think we might be getting it wrong, and how we can begin to trace our steps back, towards towards enticing global brands, multinationals to come to Nigeria, set up shop, and actually remain here. I mean, it's 51 years operating in Nigeria. You can imagine it's not an easy decision to up and leave. I'm talking about GSK, right? It was not an easy decision for them to up and leave after 51 years, but they had to. Where are we getting it wrong? Where could we be getting it right? What should we be doing towards all of that? That's the conversation I want to have with you at the round table, if you will. 0913 5000 953 and 0901 1111 953. Those are my lines if you want to call me. If you'd rather send me a text on WhatsApp, please 0809 682 2595. That's where you can find me on WhatsApp. This is Now Express here on Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos. Good evening.
This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations.
Go to Financial Services Regulation and Coordinating Committee FSRCC tinyere National Broadcasting Commission NBC Johera Adohun Boda Kanante banyere ndị na-atụ mgbere ego iwu akwadoghị bụ illegal financial operators IFO nke na-eme ka ndị mmadụ ghara inwekwa ntụkwasị obi ọzọ tinyere na ngalaba na-ahụ maka ego na Nigeria enweghị nkwudosi ike. Ha jizi ohere agwa ndị ọha obodo ka ha kwụsị ịtụnyere ndị na-atụ mgbere ego enweghị akwụkwọ ikike. Ị nwekwara ike ime nchọpụta banyere akwụkwọ ikike ụlọ ọrụ dị otu a site n'akara webụsaịtị ndị a www.cbn.gov.ng, www.nicom.gov.ng, www.pencom.gov.ng, www.sec.gov.ng. maka inye mkpesa banyere gburugburu ego n'ụdị ọbụla kpọọ 07002255226, 08002255226 maọbụ +234-817-665-6273. Ozi a si n'aka FSRCC.
Every second and every minute, something new happens. The news breaks.
3 people at a spot, and angry mobs decided to bomb.
Everyone wants to share it, but not everyone wants to dig deep. Now that's where we come in. We bring you the news and go beyond with in-depth conversations and analysis with stakeholders.
I honestly think that the federal government on its own part has broken.
If voters or more people want to be part of that decision-making process, they need to be part.
GDP is not a good measure of development anyways. We are not there. We need to counter the narrative of the fact that their vote does not count. If their vote does not count.
We bring you the story within the story, and that's what makes us tick. We are Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos, and we go beyond the news. In order to keep up with our culture of excellence and continue to bring you the very best of radio programming, we invite you, our dear esteemed listener, to share your concerns with us on any of our content and or broadcast practices that you consider unsatisfactory. You can reach us via WhatsApp on 0809 682 2595. That is 0809 682 2595. This is for us to get your feedback on our efforts to continue to build and maintain our relationship with you, and also to serve you better. Thank you for choosing Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos.
The more we talk about it, the less we fight about it.
This is not a natural disaster. This is a lack of planning. The money that these people have been borrowing over the years that have indebted this country so much, where are those money that they borrow gone into?
This Lagos flooding has shown that Lagos is not working for people in Lagos.
Join the conversation. Dial 0913 5000 953.
The issues are all around us, but who talks about them? Law enforcement breaking the law, property owners ripping off tenants, political office holders taking the electorate for granted, or is it the plague of recurring bad policies made by the government? These are the issues. Let's talk about these and more at the Round Table. Stay locked on to Radio Now 95.3 FM every weekday as we discuss these hot topics around us on the Round Table on Now Express. The Round Table, weekdays, 5:30 p.m.
Good evening. Welcome to the Round Table here on Radio Now 95.3 FM Lagos. My name is Chika Ago. So we're seeing the exit of yet another major multinational, right? They will revert to an imports-only model. What do you make of this? How are you feeling about all of this? Call me up 0913 5000 953 0901 1111 953. You're on air. Good evening.
Good evening, Chuka.
Good evening.
My name is Emmanuel.
Emmanuel, welcome.
Thank you so much. P&G living Nigeria is a sad story, just like you rightly said, with Dunlop and Michelin and so many other companies, multinational. But I would blame a lot on the government and the manufacturers. Why I say this? Sorry, I am at the experience we are doing testing.
All right, please find a quiet place and finish up.
So, as I was saying, most of the manufacturers, I did a program far back 2001, thereabouts. I had a program on air called Made in Nigeria, where we were encouraging Nigerians to buy made in Nigeria products. We found out along the line that a lot of these manufacturers were dealing in sharp practices. A lot of them were imported because they said they could not compete competitively with the multinational. A lot of other things. But for the government themselves, you see, they need to cut down on government spending, number one. And then they also need to go on policy that would ensure that when these companies come to Nigeria and they make their money, they are able to repatriate their money. If they are not able to do that, I mean, what's the point of doing business? So that's my little take for today.
Emmanuel, thank you very much. Appreciate that. He's saying, look, most of the manufacturers also have a share of the blame in all of this. Do you agree? 0913 5000 953 if you want to say something. Good evening and welcome to the Round Table. What's your name?
Good evening.
Ibeto, good evening. Please carry on.
Thank you. Let me first of all thank you immensely for this interview, because if you didn't interview Mrs. Tumedi, there's no way many of us would have known that such has happened with me. To be honest with you, it is so dismayed and so dismayed about this kind of news. Range of products that will start importing now. I mean, and start is so essential. Something start is essential to our girls and our women. So I wonder what our government is doing in areas of trying to stop this kind of exit. Every time we talk about agriculture, so we have these other products that really help us essentially. So I don't know what is it wise for government to support that kind of company, maybe at the point of they are not really doing well, or at this point of them trying to leave the country? Because if you look at what that we're going to have, first of all, it starts from the mass exit and to the number of loss of employment. You understand? It's a big loss to loss of employment. So, and other areas that we're really going to lose. So, I don't think there is a way government to be letting them out, kind of giving them a financial assistance that will help sustain them for another number of years. Then they have to pay back. You know what I'm trying to say? Look, I don't know, but this is so bad, because I don't know what our president is doing about all this. The money, the 3 billion naira they want, I'm not against it, but there are other areas they could have brought back this money to help farm economy in the tentacles of this economy. Like, let me use that food. That's my brother. So I don't know what are we. I don't really understand what we are doing. It's just like one of them presidential appearance that was hammering on being the country that is producing instead of consuming more than we produce. So I honestly, I'm so dismayed. I must be honest, I'm so dismayed. Last time, just one more time. Last time I visited the last Lagos International State Fair, I attended. I was so impressed that I saw some upstream industry. Those our own products. You see them very good. I mean, they look like products that have international standards. So what is our government doing to help us manage the greatness of this country in the areas of productivity? I don't know.
Very important question you've asked there, Ibeto. Very important question. Thank you very much. We know that a lot of our local players, our local manufacturers are actually producing goods that meet international standards. And Ibeto is asking, how is the government helping them scale? Very important question. How is the government helping them scale? You remember, when we were having the conversation with Ms. Oluwole, I asked her, with the exit of these major companies, there's going to be a vacuum. Are our local players actually equipped to step up? Obviously, no, but what would it take to get them or to help them step up? Ambassador Musbao.
How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. How are you doing, my brother?
Compliment. Did I say compliment to you?
Yes, of course.
We are making a lot of savings. I'm going to stay with you since on 20. That your right now, you go finish her. I'm going to left your house on the 28th of December from 20. Prepare for me.
Brother, I don't do like that too. Please carry on.
Can you be friend now? We are friends now.
We are friends. We are friends, but I don't want my friends to starve.
I eat little. Okay, Chika.
Don't come on Nigeria.
Not be deceived. Don't be deceived. Look, they are afraid of challenges.
Who is afraid of challenges?
Those who are coming that are running out. You don't understand now. Soon you understand.
No,
you see where they are running out.
Hold on, Ambassador Musbao. A company has been operating in Nigeria for 51 years. Are you saying that in 51 years, Ambassador Musbao, wait. Are you saying that in 51 years, a company operating here have not figured out how to continue to exert its dominance in the markets? I'm asking you a fair question, my brother.
Chika, don't be deceived.
I am not.
I want to tell most of these companies that depend on importation. Take this from me. I know what I'm saying. Now, the central banks are open door for more importation. They see this as a challenge. Look, let me tell you one thing. I know, look, sometimes you don't believe all these rice we are eating now. You believe they are locally produced. If you agree, you're on your own. Most of these rice were rebagged. I want to tell you, most of them go for outside countries and buy this rice and rebag it, call it Nigerian rice. Look, Chika, very soon, you will know that one Bawa will look. I believe some Nigerians may not know what is happening. Let all this importation comes in. Look, I love Nigeria to produce, but most of these companies, they are not producing anything. They are dependent on importation. But Nigeria don't know. Look, very soon, Nigeria will know. Let me give you January, February. You will know. Lagos is coming. Importation should come in. Why should you go and buy foreign rice for me and rebag it and call it Nigerian men? Who's against me? Who does that? Where are the pyramid rights they're displaying in Abuja?
So if
where are the rights?
yeah, but here's
Are we
my
seeing the
question.
rights in the
Yeah,
market?
but here's my question, right? If people are doing that, yeah, if people are doing that, then there is a fund. So let's take the rice for instance. If people are rebagging, as you say, or as you claim, if people are rebagging foreign rice,
Yes.
and selling them off as local rice,
Yes.
right? What then happens to all the millions and billions of naira that our government invested in local rice production?
If you ask me,
Why are we not holding the government? Why are we not holding the government accountable? Because they are the problem here. Because they are the problem here. You are not doing that yourself, but you are not doing that yourself.
Look, Chika. What we know to do is to criticize government, forgetting that something is under. We never look. To me, the way out, Chika.
Do you see? I'm concerned. Hold on, Ambassador Musba. I'm concerned that you see us saying holds the government accountable as a criticism of the government. They are two different things. Then holding somebody accountable is different from criticizing them. So
I claim one of criticizing.
No.
Politically sentiment. Yes, political sentiment, because my party is not there, their party is there, you rubbish everything. Look, let us open my time election has gone. These people, they are doing a lot of shit. They are cheating Nigeria just in the name of policy. Look, let me tell you something. The policy of this central bank, then you will know who is who are those really important, who are those producing. For now, let us start competition with those importation now. Let's see. Let us start producing and see their own and compete. Let them all be better than those they've been imported. They will see that our eye will play. You never know now. Soon, right. Soon know. Thank you.
Ambassador Musbao, I hear you, right? Solid guy. Thanks for sharing your thoughts with me this evening. I'll take more, if you will. 0913 5000 953. Welcome. Good evening.
Good evening. This is from Ikeja.
Good evening. Your name is?
Shegun from Ikeja.
Shegun. Alright, Shegun, talk to me.
Good evening, sir.
Good evening.
Actually, my own concern is that I think we are just, it's more or less like we not to keep on just revolving around on the particular issue. The last caller said that we only criticizing government, but we are not taking any decision action because there's no room for that. When you do that, after a while you shout and your shout will come down. But the fact is this: let's look at let's use developed countries, for example, like London, UK. When you go there, the whole food that a particular state is speaking in London, they have a particular unit that actually produces it, and the government take over and they control it. And until when government actually look at it, that food can actually release a kind of tension in the country, and they now pump money in it, not giving money to people that will swallow the money. We need to pump money on it and supervise it and see the results. We have a lot of green land in Nigeria. For instance, places like the Kwara State and the Ondo State, green land that can support vegetation, that can support farming system. And you have not also, we have a lot of land. Let government take proper on those things and they will put in large quantity that will circulate around the whole country and everybody will eat it. We see that all this tension will come down. But by the time they give the money to some certain set of people, they will say this is invested in agriculture, but we are not seeing the results. At the end of the day, some people will sit there and say they are the Minister of Agriculture in Abuja in one state, but ask them what is their achievement so far for the year they have been there. There's nothing to do with us. So because of this, I think we are just wasting our time. When government ready to do something, they will rise up, they will do it. It's not all about the So that's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much, Shegun. Thank you. 0913 5000 953 and 0901 1111 953. I want to hear from you. Hi, you're on air. Good evening.
Chika, please permit me to as I call back.
Ibeto, go on.
My dear brother, to be honest with you, I repeat again that I am baffled. I mean, I'm so dismayed again about some comments I hear from our fellow Nigerians. permit me to refer to Musao.
I mean, people have a right to their opinions, right?
No, I'm not condemning. I'm not condemning. Please understand me. This is the time that we need to encourage each other. If you say that they are not doing anything, how could you be so sure? You understand me? So we are looking for a way. After all, our president is going out looking for investors, foreign investors. The ones that we have here are leaving us. You understand? If you take the track record of this court in Nigeria, how the extent of how they have helped Nigerian homes, Nigerian things. You understand? You will be able to match it up, yes, that they have been so beneficial to many of us. Then when we see them leaving us, so we'll go on jamboreeing about, accusing them of one or alleging them of one thing or another, that they only import. Could you please be so sure? Even if they do import, of course now, that we notice that the cost of the things they produce here, some of the things they produce here, are relatively cheaper than what we would have been doing if we were importing such products. Do you understand me, my brother? That is my argument, though. Please, though, we should not. Please don't be guilty of, not making a good point. No, that's not what I'm saying. But I'm looking at the area for which, yes, how we could revamp this economy. You understand? So, yes, that's what calling on president, as if you have all the know-how to revamp the economy. But when a private entity are supportive, it will be too much headache for the leader to control or revamp the economy. So what we're saying here, what I'm saying in essence is simply, we need to go get to the root of what we have to do, how to protect what we have.
All right. What I mean. Protect what we have at hand. Thank you very much, Ibe. Appreciate your thoughts on this. 0913 5953 and 0901 1111953. You know, Atedo Peter Side actually put out a tweet earlier on. I just want to read out this tweet, and I want to hear what you think of this. He says another way to look at this Procter and Gamble exit story is that multiple investors who cherish the rule of law, policy consistency, macroeconomic stability, a level playing field, etc., are running away from Nigeria. They are being, quote unquote, replaced only partially by investors who know how to, quote unquote, partner with politicians and or game the system through waivers, exemptions, etc. Do you agree that when these sort of big multinational investors exit the country, right, with their exits because of, and again, this is a theory, right? He says it's another way to look at this. He says, these are people who typically would cherish the rule of law, policy consistency, macroeconomic stability. And when you actually read the statement by the chief financial officer of the group, that's for P&G, where he says that, and this is a direct quote, he said, the other reality that arises in some of these markets is that it gets increasingly difficult to operate and create US dollar value. So when you think about places like Nigeria and Argentina, it is difficult for us to operate because of the macroeconomic environments. And so that's the statement by the chief financial officer for P&G, Andre Schulten. And then you look at the statement by Atedo Peter Side, right? Who, by the way, is, the founder of Stanbic IBTC Bank. He says in this tweet that another way to look at this is at this Procter and Gamble exits, is that multiple investors who cherish the rule of law, policy consistency, macroeconomic stability, like P&G's chief financial officer said, a level playing field, are running away from Nigeria. They are running away from us. And they are being, quote unquote, replaced only partially by investors who know how to, quote unquote, partner with politicians and or game the system through waivers and exemptions, aka people that don't know how to play fair. Do you agree with that point of view. I want to get your thoughts. 0913 5000 953. 0913 5000 953 and 0901 1111 953. Hello, good evening.
Yeah, hello, good evening. My name is Josh from Ikeja.
Josh, good evening. Welcome. Please carry on.
Yeah, based on your last, your last message, I agree with Atedo Peter side, or Mr. Atedo Peter side, on what he said. Truly, that's exactly what exists. Because at the point, there was a time I just sat down the other day and I was just thinking that anybody doing business in Nigeria, that is doing genuine business in Nigeria, must be given an accolade. Seriously. Because the situation, I've run businesses and some of them are packed up and all that kind of stuff. The situation in this country when you run business is it's traumatic. In fact, let me just use that word. It's traumatic. Seriously. So it's only those that can actually bend the system, that don't want to play fair, that try to go through waivers or whatever illegal stuff and all that kind of stuff that can actually withstand the heat in the system at the moment. And the unfortunate thing is that we don't have a government that still understands what people are facing. The government just thinks that is politics as usual. Have to suffocate the what they call it, the opposition and all that kind of stuff. Oppositions, they are there and they are talking. What the fans are saying is that they are criticizing the government, they are doing this one, they are doing that one. But the truth is there in the criticism. That's where it's supposed to be. The criticism is saying the truth. The truth is there. It's for you to just leave it out. But of course, they will never admit to it because they're just mostly they surround themselves with psychopaths. Psychopaths that will never tell them the truth. And some of them that even know the truth that are in government, they just lie low and not even do anything. For instance, our National Assembly, people in National Assembly, most of them that are even good that want to actually do something. Eventually, just all of a sudden, just have a sore throat. They can't even talk again. You understand? So, but when I even ask, there was something I saw online. Maybe you can help me with Chika. There's something I saw online that exports. I think it was the Bureau of Statistics or so. Put a statement out there that exports now is now more than imports. How did they come about that? Because I don't think that can be possible, even in this state of things. Yeah.
Well, I mean, if you
elaborate how they got that mathematics or how they were able to.
Well, I don't know about how they got the mathematics, and I don't want to dabble into that. No, but you know what, Josh?
I heard your boss was saying something like that in your face that exports.
Oh yes, I mean there was a recent. There was a recent analysis of data at our ports, our export and our import values. And yes, I mean again, I think that the difference is nominal, right, in nature. But what you have to understand is that we've been doing well with oil. So when you look at our total exports, oil and non-oil exports vis-a-vis our imports, you can expect to see some difference there. I think what matters is how are we able to sustain whatever progress that we're seeing right now, for a longer period of time.
Which exports are we? Which oil exports are we doing, please?
Have you heard of crude?
Huh?
Crude oil?
Crude oil, is it export?
Yes.
Are we exporting crude oil? As in like, okay, fine.
We export Bonny Light crude.
Exporting crude oil.
Yes, we export Bonny Light crude.
We export crude oil.
Mm-hmm.
But can you quantify that to the amount of import that goes on from, even just rice, agricultural produce? Every industry here, we don't have any form of manufacturing.
Like I said,
what they do is that they import every raw material. So how is that modern?
So like I said, right, when you look at and again, this is for a period of time, right? So let's say, I don't know for what period they're looking at, but when maybe they looked at the period between October and September, and they said, look, within this period, we exported more than we imported. It doesn't generally mean that throughout the month of 2023 we exported more than we imported. It's just that period under review. So it's why sometimes you have to read beyond the headlines and understand what the underlying story is, right? Otherwise you might find yourself in a place where you're confused as you are now, if that makes any sense.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome, Josh. Good evening, you're on air. What's your name? Hello? Hello? Okay, I think that one's dropped. But look, I think that at the end of the day, what matters really is that we're asking ourselves the right questions. That the people who are in charge of ensuring that our economy moves on well, we're holding them accountable. And we're not letting them rest. We're doing all we can to ensure that they do their job and they deliver. Hello, you're on air.
Good evening. This is Shegun from Teja calling back.
Shegun, welcome.
Actually, I just want to comment on the last one. Talking about the exports and this and that. The result is comparative analysis that they do when you download the report of export of crude oil. You know, the major exportations in Nigeria is crude oil. And we take highest figure. And if you compare with other export products, you see that crude oil carry highest. And when you compare with all items, you see that it actually has a risk. So that's how they come out with the report. There's nothing hide about it. There was not a revenue that is generated, because you may be thinking that because of the revenue they generated, but just in quantity, we have highest export more than
all right. Thank you. But you know what? That's it. Let's wrap it here on the show this evening. I'm back tomorrow, so make sure to join me then. My name is Chika Agu. Stay with us. The news rod is up at 6 p.m. The news summary is up next at 6 p.m. So stay with us for that. I'll see you tomorrow.
This is Radio Now 95.3 FM. Come for the news, stay for informed conversations.
Every second and every minute, something new happens. The news breaks.
3 people at a spot, and angry mobs decided to bomb.
Everyone wants to share it, but not everyone wants to dig deep. Now that's where we come in. We bring you the news and go beyond with in-depth conversations and analysis with